saying white genocide, people saying get out of my country to me, a naturalized American citizen. I mean, how can you cancel these people when the president of the United States has said as bad or worse?
Do you regret doing it?
I mean, I'm a brown immigrant sitting in a room filled with white supremacists telling me to get out of their country. It wasn't a great experience in that sense. I think that's very clear to anyone who watches it.
Do you think they are worse than the Ku Klux Klan?
I am an immigrant. I'm speaking from personal experience.
Get the hell out.
I don't even like... I should get the hell out.
Yes.
Why?
I don't want you here. I am Native American. Whites are Native Americans. What are you talking about?
Majority white.
So
it should stay that way.
They hate everything that we believe. They don't even speak our language.
Britain is changing. When immigrants come into an area, natives leave.
So you support
Exact same-
sniping children in Gaza?
What if they're wearing a suicide vest?
Do you think everybody in the world is an undocumented American?
So I'm going to get in power, and I'm going to frankly punish you when you try to leverage power against me.
You and your own person are a complete perfect example of why immigration is negative.
That's how far to the right I am.
I am a General Franco supporter. He was awesome. He was so super cool.
You're going to have to go, bro, is what he said as I left, to an American citizen.
Demographic replacement. Mass migration.
You're a great replacement. guys.
London is going to be very little British in one
says
day.
so?
Better get replaced in my country. What do you want me to do?
Christians should have control of the
I
Holy
agree, Donald
Land.
Trump.
They want to keep to their own.
They're actually
The only
trying to
shutting down is being
genocide my
done by
entire
you.
race. So what are you talking about?
I don't believe in
What
democracy.
are you doing? You're not American.
I think you could say I'm a fascist.
Yeah, I am. Absolutely.
So what we have just played you there is a clip of a YouTube show called Surrounded. It's made by Jubilee. And the guest at the centre of it is the journalist, the broadcaster, Mehdi Hassan. He's the editor-in-chief and CEO of Zetio News. And if you see it on the screen, you'll see Mehdi kind of sitting at a desk facing one member of the opposition, if you like, at a time, with a ring full of people around him. And as you heard from the clips, the people that Mehdi was coming up against were self-described fascists, self-described Nazis. I mean, people who were trying to send Mehdi Hassan home. I don't think they meant to the UK, Mehdi, but Mehdi's joining us now. Just tell us how you got into that circle in the first place.
Yeah, thank you for having me, John and Emily. It is a very popular Gen Z-ish show called Surrounded. I'm old. I'm 46 years old. I want to go where the youth are. And I was told by a lot of people this has got the big audiences. I'd seen the Ben Shapiro's, Charlie Kirk's, Jordan Peterson's on the right do this show on Jubilee, tens of millions of views online. I thought, look, this is a good place to go get a new audience and challenge some people on the right who I don't normally get to challenge. So I went on thinking I'm going on with, 25 Trump supporters, far-right conservatives, self-styled. That in itself is a little bit iffy. Who self-identifies as far-right, proudly. But that's the country we're in right now. A lot of Trump supporters are very proud of those kind of titles. But what I didn't expect is, as you played in the clip, people turning up saying I'm a fascist, people saying white genocide, people saying get out of my country to me, a naturalized American citizen, people saying some really odious stuff on a bunch of different issues. And I think that's why this show has kind of gone so crazy viral. My phone has exploded over the past couple of days, is because I think we all knew that there are a lot of odious people in the MAGA base, but to see them so emboldened and on camera saying the kind of stuff that before people would never have the guts to say out loud, that is scary.
Does it cause concern, outrage that this is being said now? Or, I kind of hate talking about the Overton window, but has the Overton window moved in such a direction that this is now acceptable stuff?
No, it's a very good question, John, and I think that is the key problem here. Look, I'm someone who, from my days in the UK, has always had a kind of no platforming of fascism. I won't debate fascists, and therefore I was pretty surprised when one of those guys was like, "Yeah, I'm a fascist. I support General Franco. I want autocracy in the US." And I'm like, okay, well, I don't debate fascists. This is kind of going to go nowhere. And this was a very strange experience for me because I love debating. I love arguing. I wrote a damn book about the thing. I went there to do this debate. But yeah, I was a little bit stunned. It takes a lot to shut me up, as you know, John, and I was kind of speechless for a few moments there. But look, the Overton window has been shifting for a long time. Let's just take one of the core claims that they made, get out, like multiple. I think about 5 of them told me, you got to go, you're not an American, you got to leave. Think about where we started. It was, this is all about illegal immigration. Trump is coming in to crack down on illegal immigration. Then we got into legal immigration. They detained Mahmoud Khalil, a green card holder, earlier this year. permanent resident, legal immigrant. Now it's naturalized Americans. They've set up a unit, John, at the Department of Justice called the Denaturalizations Unit. They're going to focus on stripping citizenship from American citizens who've been naturalized. So this rhetoric, and you saw it at the RNC last year, people holding up, remember that scene at the Republican
Mass
National Convention?
deportations
Thousands
now.
of people,
Yeah.
holding up those placards. And what they meant by that, Emily, was not just quote unquote illegal immigrants, as became very clear across these 2 hours to me.
I guess my question, though, Mehdi, is how much it really is debate and how much it's just clickbait. I mean, probably, you said your phone has been ringing off the hook. You're going to do well from this. They're going to do well from this. It's water off a duck's back in a way to both of you. If the fabric of society is crumbling before our eyes, but people are getting richer off the back of it, then nobody will stop this.
So look, the Jubilee model is clearly partly based on clickbait. There's no debate about that. It's a YouTube media company, and they're going to get tens of millions of views. I think this episode has already had many millions of views. And there is a debate, in places like Blue Sky, where more liberals congregate online. I've taken a bit of a beating from people saying, well, why did you do this show? Why did you go on this show? Why did you platform these people? Which is completely legitimate criticism. I've made that in the past myself to other people who platform these people. In my defense, as I would say, I had literally no idea that they would be this extreme. And now you can have a separate debate, Emily, about, well, is there a distinction between fascists, racist, white supremacists and the core of the Trump MAGA base? Should I have been so naive to believe that there are non-fascist, racist, white supremacist Trump supporters in the core of his base? That's a whole debate to be had. But you're right. Look, a lot of those people, one of the guys, I think the guy who calls himself a fascist is now claiming he lost his job. Shock horror, his employer didn't want someone who went on in front of millions of people and said, I'm a fascist. But you're right. A lot of them will do well. They'll increase their social media profile. The algorithm will help them spin it as a win over progressive journalist and brown guy Mehdi Hasan. That's true. And I think we can have that debate about what value comes out of such debates. As I say, I wrote a book about debating, but I say in the book, bad faith debates are pointless. And it did become clear to me across the course of these 2 hours. These were not kind of quote unquote normal members of the public, average Trump supporter who you can try and maybe somehow get through to. These were kind of far right influencers pushing a very ideological agenda.
So let me ask you a crappy double-barreled question, which is the first barrel is, do you regret doing it? And the second is, would you do it again?
All right. So, no, I would definitely not do it again. Is my second question. As for regretting doing it, I don't know. It's not something, it's very easy for me to say, oh, I wish I hadn't done it. Look, clearly in the moment, and if you watch the hour 40 on YouTube, clearly there are moments where I am very uncomfortable. And to go back to what Emily said earlier, you'll do well out of it. They do it. Sure. More and more people are following me on social media. Great. But I mean, very honestly, though, it is awkward to be I had to take security with me to this event. There was security at the event. A lot of people have reached out saying, are you okay? What was it like? I mean, I'm a brown immigrant sitting in a room filled with white supremacists telling me to get out of their country. It wasn't a great experience in that sense. I think that's very clear to anyone who watches it. Do I regret doing it? I don't know the answer to that question. Some days, yes, some days, no. As I say, I can see the values of having done it, but also clearly I accept the criticisms of, the format that allows these people to kind of become online famous for a few days.
I mean, I guess I'm surprised that my real surprise is that the guy in the video got fired. I don't know what that says, right? But I sort of think, how many steps away are we from people saying, I've had enough of cancel culture, I've had enough of being told what I can and cannot say. If I say all that stuff, I should still be allowed to keep my job in the United States of America.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, Emily, and I think I was surprised that he lost his job. And there's 19 other people who aren't losing their jobs who talked about white genocide and great replacement and told me on camera to get out. You would think a few years ago those would be fireable or cancelable offences. They're clearly not. I mean, how can you cancel these people when the president of the United States has said as bad or worse and is president of the United States a second time? It's very hard to say these people should be shunned from society when the leader of society says much, much worse and, of course, has emboldened these people. And this is the point I try to make to people who are a little bit complacent about the Trump threat. Trump could disappear tomorrow, could retire and go off to play golf, and we never hear from him again. Yeah, right. But that could hypothetically happen. That doesn't change the fact that there are now millions of people in America who have been emboldened this way. The fascist genie, the white supremacist genie is out of the bottle. And I think that is what, and to go back to John's question about regret. That's one area where I'm not regretful. I do think it's important to expose these people and show people on my side of the argument. Forget the right. I'm talking about people in the middle, people in the center, people on the left, who are still a little bit complacent about what is going on here in the United States, even now, 6 months into a second Trump term, to point out that these people are young. You know, there's a sense of, oh, this is just a bunch of old white racists in the deep south. No, these were young racists in Los Angeles, right? It's important to point out to people that these people, they represent, I'm not saying they're a majority. I'm not saying they are close to a majority. I am saying, though, they're a very loud, very influential, very vocal minority in this country. And people should have their eyes wide open about the nature of the white supremacist threat in the United States in 2025.
Mehdi, did you feel there was anything about it, I don't know, that was sort of slightly synthetic or a confection? I just had a picture of a green room where after the recording, you know, the people that have said you've got to leave the country are sitting down and breaking bread with you and having a laugh, or, you know, I wonder whether they were as obnoxious when the cameras were off.
Well, they sugared up.
Or as when, you know, when they were performing and kind of going through their, you know, routine.
So, John, I'm limited as to what I can say happened off camera, but let me tell you this. There was no difference between them on camera and off camera. In fact, they said worse things off camera.
Really? I accept there are limitations, but what, they were, you know, kind of finger jabbing about you, get out of our country, you don't belong here.
Yeah.
Do you think, do you think they are worse than the Ku Klux Klan?
It's funny because the friend of mine who I took with me for security as we left said to me, what was that? That felt like a low-key Ku Klux Klan rally, is the phrase he used, Emily. So it's interesting you asked that question. In many ways they are, because these are people who are young and hip and understand social media and have podcasts and platforms. They are, you know, they are not the kind of traditional white supremacists we have known in this country who put hoods on and burn crosses on front lawns. This is your next door neighbor. These are the people you work with in your workplace who are on the 4chan websites and
they're not really lynching people, right? They're not. Do you think? I mean, would I be safe to say they are not violent?
Lynching people. They're not lynching people, but of course, in this country, hate crimes have. It's in the last 10 years since Trump came on the scene. Hate crimes are up. Attacks on minorities are up. Anti-Semitism is up. Islamophobia is up. Anti-black racism is up. So, in that sense, you know, the unleashing of racism and bigotry since this guy came on the scene, came down that escalator in 2015 to declare his candidacy and say we need to send those rapist Mexicans back, is way up. And I think anyone who denies that is living in cloud cuckoo land.
And Mehdi, you and I moved to the States at roughly the same time. You stayed and become a naturalized US citizen. I mean, what do you feel about what does it mean to you today, being a US citizen? Of course, I came back and, you know, didn't do that, and I've just got a British passport. But what does it feel like having had that experience?
It's a great question, John. It's something I've been discussing with friends and family since Trump came back. Look, every brown and black person I know and I've spoken to since January, and I've spoken to a lot, both on the East Coast and across the United States, has a plan B, has had discussions about what do they do if this country continues down this path. Everybody I know has had this discussion. When Trump got elected, when, you know, all of this stuff has started kicking in with the deportations and ICE, everyone is having a conversation about what happens. Where do you go? What do we do if we have to leave? I'm talking about prominent people too. I'm talking about people in the media, people in politics, people in popular culture. And this is the real danger right now, is that people kind of give up, right? There's a sense that that's what they want, right? That's what the fascists and the white supremacists want. They're nihilists. They want everyone to just give up and roll over. That's how fascists have taken power in most Western societies. People have a sense of hopelessness and despair and feel like, well, everything's against me. Nothing can be done. It's time to get out of Dodge. And that is a real problem. Look, I have dual nationality. I can come back to the UK tomorrow. But it is a real issue when people like, you know, I've had Trump supporters, even before he won, prominent Trump supporters saying online, like, let's deport and denaturalize Mehdi Hasan. There's a guy called Mike Davis, who was once considered for Attorney General, who said, if Trump makes me AG, my first job is to send Mehdi Hasan to Guantanamo Bay. So, you know, those of us who are prominent brown folks in media, politics, etc., we get it all the time. You've seen what's happened, John, to Zohran Mamdani, who has won the New York Democratic mayoral race. Within hours of him winning the race, Donald Trump says, well, some people say he's illegal. We're going to have to investigate whether he came here legally to become an American citizen. I mean, this is insane now, where deportation and denaturalization is now being thrown around as a kind of political argument against any opponent you don't like. That is something we've not seen in modern American politics.
Mehdi, it's great to have you on the show. Thanks so much for giving us your time today. Thanks.
Thank you.
The Newsagents. This is a Global Player original podcast.